Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Nate Almighty, and I'm back with another Raising Kanan Season 4, going into Season 5 video. And the topic of today's lit Season 4 going into Season 5 video is Snaps and Pop did what they were supposed to do in regards to killing Famous and Krystal. Let's keep it real, okay? Now, of course, Snaps and Pop are not only great characters who lasted longer than we thought they were going to last. No one could have initially thought that their introduction into the series would lead to the introduction of Breeze. But they've also managed to become enemies number 1 and 2, or number 1 as a collective, right? And if you're a hated character within a show, that means you are a well-written character, okay? And I want to explain why Snaps and Pop did what they were supposed to do. And not only that, how it's still Kanan's fault. How they both ended up getting killed. No matter which way you want to slice it, when you be technical, it tracks back to it all being Kanan's fault, okay? This video is going to be a doozy. It's going to be seriously entertaining, man. I recommend you watch this video to the end. As a matter of fact, I know you will, man. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, now, y'all, let's break it down like this, okay? Now, when I say that Snaps and Pop did what they were supposed to do, we have to take into account two things. You as a viewer, you have to take into account whether you are somebody, right, who is very familiar with gangster films, right, and how things go, and what could possibly happen with witnesses, this, that, and the third. And you also have to take into account if you're somebody who's really from the streets and you are familiar with similar situations. Now, of course, most of us are not people who have dealt with real violent situations in regards to people like Snaps and Pop and Famous and what happened to Krystal, right? Sidebar, I was watching an interview with the guy who played Famous, and do y'all know that this guy said that he really was supposed to die in season 1, but they kept him around until season 4? But anyways, these are the two things that you have to hold into account, right? So, in regards to Famous, we gotta talk about it this way, right? Famous was somebody who was never supposed to be involved in the street. He was somebody who, he just wanted to deal with women, right? He wanted to smoke his weed. He wanted to rap. And as we all know, throughout the seasons, he got better and better and better, right? This is somebody who, if the writers of the show wanted to be less crime drama-ish and they wanted to take it in a different direction, they could have had Famous become famous. And then Kanan could have been like his manager or security or something, and they could have did something with that. But of course, that gives more to Famous and takes away from Kanan, right? Because they did make the right decision. They did make the right decision by killing Famous. Like, let's keep it a bean, right? But Famous was somebody who was never supposed to be in the streets in the first place. But from season 1 all the way up until Famous got arrested, right? Yes, we know Famous took it upon himself to go to Shorty's house and get the gun and do all he did, and it led to Freddie being killed, yes. And he ended up getting arrested for a murder he committed, yes. But it all traces back to Kanan, because even from season 1, Kanan was making mistakes, right? If Famous wasn't smart, like, first of all, we know Kanan said, yo, I'm gonna mind my mother's business. Buck 20 is on my mother's turf. I want to do something about it, right? If Kanan had it his way, Famous would have been in that shootout with him. Famous would have been in that shootout with them. They would have had to really kill Famous off before season 4, right? It all goes back to Kanan. So then they make it past that situation. Kanan decides, yo, I want to sell drugs. I want to have my courier business, right? I'm going to force my best friend and brother to sell drugs with me. After Famous told Kanan and showed Kanan on more than one occasion, yo, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. So then when he sees that it's not for Famous, slaps Famous, holds it against Famous, makes Famous feel bad for being who he is. Kanan, you get to be who you are. You get to choose your own destiny. Why you not letting Famous choose his own destiny, right? Then he gets mixed up with Snaps and Pop, two OGs in the game, who he was warned not to deal with by the two women in his life who care the most about him. Jukebox say, yo, leave Bonnie and Clyde alone. Rock say, yo, leave Snaps and Pop alone. Kanan didn't listen. And then he forced Famous to be involved in the situation. Not only that, you talking to Ronnie and you telling Ronnie, yo, Famous talk too much. Ronnie, who really is the person who talks too much, without them having to show us in the show, we know without a shadow of a doubt, for them to even be concerned about Famous, we know Ronnie had to tell Snaps and Pop about Kanan and Famous relationship, right? If he gonna go to Snaps and Pop and tell him about Unique sleeping with Rock, you know he gonna tell Kanan about Famous. Yo, Famous man got booked, right? Or rather that, Ronnie gonna be like, yeah, Kanan got a friend, his name is Famous, he talked too much. Cause of course Snaps and Pop, they gonna wanna infer about who's around Kanan. And now, because they introduced Breeze to Kanan, we know that from as far back as then, they probably already was like, yo, we see what Kanan got going on. We need to know who's around him because we gonna bring him and Breeze together. You know Ronnie told them that Famous got a big mouth, even though he didn't have that big a mouth. Even though if he lived, he probably would have just told on Howard, right? If he would have told at all. So because Kanan didn't allow Famous to beat him and Kanan was running his mouth, it's Kanan and Ronnie running their mouth more than Famous would presume to do. Once Famous gets locked up for the body and they like, yo, he got information on crooked cops and all of that, Snaps and Pop did what they were supposed to do. They had to neutralize the threat. There is no, let's see who he gonna tell on. No, we gotta get him out of there. We gotta torture him, find out what he knows, and then he's gonna die anyway. They did what they were supposed to do, and it's Kanan's fault. And then in regards to Krystal, and why Kanan never allowed himself to get that close to a woman again until he died, right? It's a shame that he went through this at 17 years old. But anyways, in regards to Krystal, he was foolish enough to constantly have Krystal around him, constantly have Krystal in his business, to the point where the police was able to figure out that he had this girl very close to him. And she was always around and always in his business, right? So when he made the mistake of trusting Snaps and Pop too much and going and telling them that he was aware of the fact that police may have had something to do with Famous's death, Snaps and Pop had to cover their own tracks and be smart about it and neutralize all threats like they were supposed to do, like real bosses and gangsters. So the only other angle they had, right, at the moment was the cops finding out about Krystal. Then they take Krystal, right, tortured her too. They had to figure out what information she know. They got the information, right, that Kanan not trusting his mother from Krystal because he went and told her square to the game that he don't trust his mother in regards to some gangster shit. Which, first of all, Krystal would have got killed anyway. But now he put himself in a position to be manipulated and tricked by Snaps and Pop, which is exactly what happened, right? And now there's a chance that season 5 rolls around next year and we do find out that Kanan killed Rock, which I 100% do not believe. Do not believe, man. And I'm fully willing for next year to come, and I will have denied that fact the whole entire year. And if I'm proven to be wrong, y'all go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. I don't care. They be changing up the outcomes at the end of these seasons anyway. For all I know, I could have got all my theories right, and they was changing them because they seen my shit. Yes, I'm going to be delusional because I believe in myself. I think highly of myself. But anyways, and I'm trying to get in the writer's chair. But anyways, when you think of the situation, it all goes back to Kanan. And at the end of the day, whether you agree or not, it's Kanan's fault. And what you gotta acknowledge is, speaking like true gangsters, spoken like true gangsters and handled by true gangsters, man. Snaps and Pop did what they were supposed to do in regards to killing Famous and Krystal. You have to neutralize the threat. They are potential witnesses. And once you commit the act of kidnapping them, you can't just let them free. Once you seen that Pop showed her face to Krystal, you know Krystal was going to die, right? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace.
Can't teach that shit, nigga. Come on. That's God-gifted. That's touch my ink. That's on the dome, nigga.